Okay, welcome everyone to our wisdom class number 115. So this is a really important class that is about trying to make sense of all of the suffering that's happening in the world right now. And there is a lot. And I think that people are getting really bogged down with it and getting stressed out. And I can't tell you how many clients I've had in the last week where they're like, I'm wigging out by everything that's happening. And it's easy to understand why. There's so much happening. So let's use today to try to make a little sense of everything that's happening. But I will start with this. How is everyone doing today? Put some comments up. Tell me some good things. Is everyone doing wonderful? How is your start to your Saturday? It's the end of mine. It's 6:02 p.m. So I am going to, while you are posting some things, I'm typing some comments about how you're doing today. I'm going to get in here and get our PowerPoint ready. Okay, we're good to go. All right, so we've got some doing goods. We've got some feeling positive shift in the consciousness in the world as a combination of COVID and the protests. Yeah, there's going to be some big shifts. So we're going to talk about those today. So let me just get us started. I'm going to share my screen. And thank you, Sushila. She says, doing okay, already feeling your energy. I love that. Well, I was saying that I'm on a body cleanse right now. So body cleanses are so amazing. I've got my tinctures that I'm having with some tea and turmeric and ginger and mint leaves and lemon and all that honey, good stuff, and just cleansing out the body so that everything is clear and ready to handle everything that's happening. So sharing the screen. Oh, after I read some of these comments though. Got some wonderful comments coming up here. So we have, Kathy's not in a great place, but making the best of the day. Well, I hope that this cheers you up and helps you to adjust into a different place. Marcia said it's a beautiful Saturday in Camarillo, California, feeling awake. And Micheline, hi everyone, I'm doing good after the full moon. And just, I read these because there are people on phone. Micheline also says, I'm grateful. Yeah, full moon last night. Judy says there is definitely big movement, and I love the folks who are stepping into leadership in unity consciousness. Exactly. Charles says, really wigged out, committed to avoiding Facebook. Yeah, that's probably a good idea, depending on what comes into your feed. My feed stays usually pretty nice. I don't have to worry too much about things. But let's get right in now, and let's talk about making sense of the suffering in the world. So, suffering, first of all, if you just look at what suffering actually means, it is the state of undergoing pain and distress and hardship. And I would say suffering is also high emotions. It's having this, oh my gosh, or looking at other people in the world and saying, oh my God, why are they going through this? And I'm going to share some stories about some things that have been coming up. Just a couple more comments to even put into the whole idea of this. Katie says, I haven't looked at news yet. I was writing down a sense of new, writing down a sense of new on waking sovereignty that is paradoxically making me feel both more centered. I love that. Shalini says, life is wonderful and interesting if you don't judge the news of new events hitting us each day. Exactly. So let's talk about this pain, distress, and hardship. When it comes to suffering or having all of this hardship, you have to understand that there are always layers, and there are big layers. And I've talked with you guys, if you've been in any of my classes before, I'm always talking about how you can't separate out anything. That since everything is made of the same stuff, it's all made of energy. That means that you can't separate yourself out from the chair or the air or the planets or the computer. All right. Everything breaks down into energy in its smallest component. But our conscious thought, okay, or a construct in what we chose to, what the energy is creating, the computer is much more dense, right? So, and much more lower vibrating, so it feels solid to us. And our construct within ourselves is a little more fluid, right? So the chair or the couch or whatever you're sitting on feels solid, but it's not. So this means you can't separate out anything. Okay, so that means there aren't rules of the way that one layer of suffering operates on a small scale or a large scale. You'll get it when I'm done talking. So you can have personal suffering, right? Suffering inside of you that comes from intense emotion and upset and things like that, internal growth, right? You can have relationship suffering. So now you're taking two individual sufferers and putting them together in a relationship suffer. You can have the earth suffering. If you watched class number class number 2 from transition time, I talked about the 12 levels of soul development. The earth is actually a soul. She's going through her own experience. Okay, so she goes through suffering. Animals, okay, we'll look at how they're suffering in the world. We also have collective humanity. And then we've got the world. These are all different layers of suffering. So the question that people have is, why do we have pain and distress and hardship and suffering? And I'm going to talk about this at a quantum level first, and I'll talk about that in a second. And then we're going to get to the global stuff we're going through. So I'm going to kind of go through this quickly, since most of the people in the class already know about this. All right. And it's because we care. I want you to really think about that. We go through suffering because we care. And I've got a couple of questions, so I'm going to answer those or comments. Judy says, reality checks bring up all of the real fears too. I'm canceling a doctor's appointment in LA due to protests. I'm really feeling the pain being expressed by those oppressed. Exactly. Oh, are we going to get into that? Absolutely. And Katie says, she said, she didn't finish her other sentence. She said, I am also not having to defend. Yes, on suffering, Kelly. Everything interconnected, dependent, origination, compassion. Exactly. Okay, so here we go. Why do we have pain and distress and hardship? Because we care. Okay, but sometimes our caring is misguided by very false beliefs that we create within ourselves or create as a humanity. So we all have talked about, all of you in this class know this, that the ego is what creates false beliefs inside of us. And this ego is actually programmed right into our DNA. All right, you're born with it. You can't get out of it. All right, everybody's got one. And what happens is that it causes us to look for love and acceptance and self-worth and value through the eyes of other people who like to judge you and like to blame you for their suffering and like to try to make you responsible for their happiness. Okay, so here's what happens. If we look for love and worth and value outside of ourselves, okay, we're going to get into a little bit of trouble. We're going to end up where you're going to feel judged or unloved or rejected. And I want you to think of this at a global scale with what's happening today. You're going to feel betrayed, not good enough. You're going to feel less than, not worthy of, not valued, and you're going to feel hurt. And very often, people who feel this will hide their insecurities, and they're going to hide them with some really hard things, with arrogance, with being better than, or judging others, or saying their race or their class or their gender is better. They're going to try to find power outside of themselves. They're going to try to find control. Okay? And sometimes our caring is misguided by false beliefs that make you say this. Here are the false beliefs. You're not perfect just as you are. You can be rejected. You can be betrayed. You need to conform. Others are wrong and you are right. Or your group is wrong and that group is right. You are innately wrong. You know, that means like you're just somehow just wrong as who you are. You know the right way to live. Yeah, that's a false belief. You are worthless. False belief. You're unlovable. Others can hurt you. False belief. They can't. Life is unsafe. It's not. Others can cause you to be unhappy. And I know that what's happening in the world right now can cause these false beliefs to come to the surface and say, but look, and we'll talk about it. When there's a desperate need for power and control, and wealth and status and to be better than meant that type of mentality, all of that desperate need, all that is a big neon sign to say, I don't love myself. That's it. So I want you to think of what's going on in this world. How many people aren't in a place of internal love, so they have to everything outside of them. So we have to look again. Well, why do we have this? And how do we make sense of all this suffering? Did God leave the world? What happened? It's because people care about being loved and accepted and worthy, that when they don't, they express it in very hard ways. Remember these layers of suffering that I talked about? If you look at it like this, the personal and relationship and animal suffering, okay, that's on a small personal scale. That's called a microcosm, okay, a little microcosm. The earth, you know, huge amount, humanity, all of humanity, the world itself, okay? This is all the macrocosm or large scale. If we look at the microcosm and how it heals and grows, we're going to understand, and why suffering is perfect, we're going to understand the macrocosm. So we have to examine the microcosm to understand the macro. When it comes to learning, expansion, growth, and evolvement, that which happens at that small scale happens at a large scale. And that even means humanity. All right, I want you to think back at this picture. This is back in it'd be about the 17th century, okay? And during the era where they wore the powdered wigs and things were very stuffy and nasty, okay? We have come a long way since then. All right, we really have, but we're not there yet. What is happening right now is to catapult us into something amazing, to catapult us into growth, expansion, and evolvement. So let's look at the microcosm and understand. Here's the biggest thing you can think about. Do humans grow and change when everything is going well? Put your responses up. I want to hear from you. Do humans grow and change when everything is going well? What do you have to say? When everything is going super sweet, there's no challenges, what happens? Okay, we're getting the chats up here. Kathleen, no, not so much. Probably not so much. Nope. And no. Okay, now, we don't change or grow. We just don't. And thank you for your responses. So what happens is when everything is going well, there is absolutely no motivation to change because everything's going well. All right? And here's another thing you have to think about. If life is a big school for your soul, right? Your soul's like, dude, I'm going to earth school. I'm going to learn and grow so much. And you're like, yeah, I'll take that mom and that nasty teacher, and I'll take that really bad abuse, or I'll take that hardship, and I'll take that suffering. Because the hardship and suffering are your textbooks. Because again, you didn't come here to be in peace. You're going to be in peace. You would have stayed where you were, right? This isn't where you came to do that. You came to get here to get into the muck of it. And Cindy said, she's like, well, no, but you know what? I'm kind of tired of learning right now. Yes, I can totally understand that. And I empathize with you. Trust me, it's been a big, long haul. But I'll share some experiences where I'll tell you, if I didn't have the hardship I went through, I couldn't be where I am right now. I couldn't. I want to share a story with you. So this is back in, gosh, what year was this? 2015. I'm going through a really bad experience with an ex-business partner, and I'm just brokenhearted. And I'm sitting at, if any of you are here from Ojai, Kate, who is the tarot reader, I'm sitting with her at her house, actually. We're just hanging out and, talking. She became a friend. And so we're sitting there, and she's like, are you okay? And I was like, oh, it's just so hard. I'm so, and all of a sudden my guides came through, okay, my spirit guides. And they're like, shut up. And I'm like, what? And they're like, you shut up. And I'm like, what? Like, you knew exactly what you were getting into when you came here. I'm like, what? And like, you knew you could beat the game of emotions. And I was like, huh? And all of a sudden, over from this side came this big wave of feeling and memory of what I felt like before I came here. And I was like, oh my God, this was a game to me. It was a game. Like, I knew I could beat the game of emotion. I knew that it wouldn't hold me down the rest of my life. I knew I wouldn't get stuck in it. Oh, this was a game. And all of a sudden, I felt all of that memory leave me again. And I'm like, no, 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 don't leave me. Don't. Oh. And they took the feeling away. And I cannot recreate it, no matter how hard I try. I cannot recreate it because it wasn't from this life. It was me and my higher self. But I remembered that feeling. I knew I could beat the game of emotion because I knew that there are some very specific things about emotions. Emotions or suffering, it's just low level reactions to the human condition. And all emotions are a vibration. They're a vibration. When we are not here, we vibrate so high and we have such beauty. And when we come down here, we get into things like guilt and shame that vibrate like this. And we don't like it because it doesn't feel good. Okay? We forget that we have all the power and control to remove them anytime we want. That's what those transition time classes are for. That's why I put them out there. That's why I've been doing the wisdom classes since 2015. That breakup brought me into all of this. So if you understand suffering from this aspect, everything in life, everything comes in for your, at the microcosm, and our, at the macrocosm. It comes in for our highest and greatest good. Okay? Do you ever hear of the 7 Essene mirrors? Anyone? The Essenes were a sect of people who lived thousands of years ago, and they were reputed to have written the Dead Sea Scrolls and were reputed to have trained Jesus. Okay, and Kathleen says yes. Kathleen Riley. She's heard of them. And what happens is that they came up with, well, first of all, their motto was this: we don't try to wake everyone up. They were very spiritual. They weren't religious. They were spiritual like we are. And they said, we don't try to wake everyone up. They said, we comfort the sleeping souls. They're not ready to wake up. And those who are ready to awaken, we help them awake. And those who are already awake, we just keep them on their path. And they came up with the 7 Essene mirrors, the 7 different ways in which people, circumstances, and situations show up for your highest and greatest good. Okay? Because it teaches you what you hold as far as a charge around you. Okay, it teaches you what is still being held inside as far as pain and wounding. It teaches you how you have false beliefs of the ego, and it teaches you lessons. So all these people and things that are showing up for humanity or for ourselves personally are showing up as teachers. And that's pretty amazing. Yes, Sharmila said you had a whole class on that long ago. Yes, if you go onto kellyschwegel.com, you'll see the 7 Essene mirrors. It's a 2-part class. Excuse me. So I had somebody once stand up in a class in, Marcia knows this person actually. It was in Camarillo, California. I was presenting there. And he stood up in the back and he raises his hand after I'm talking. And this was probably maybe about 2013. And he said, so are you trying to tell me that a loving God allows beautiful, innocent children to suffer? And I said, yes, I am. Because God doesn't create the suffering that we are going through. We do. And not because we're trying to punish ourselves, okay? I'll explain. God doesn't create the suffering, we do. God allows it because we choose it. You can call God anything you want, whatever your God is to you. He allows it because, or she, because we choose it. A loving God supports our choice for growth. And we knew before we came here, there was going to be some suffering involved. Okay? So basically, we made a choice. I'm coming to suffer school, AKA Earth. So you have to think about this microcosm now. How do we grow? All right? How do we actually grow? Marcia has a comment. She says, you really challenged his beliefs and the beliefs of those who have that false idea, but we're afraid to ask. Thanks, Kelly. You're welcome. Aw, that was sweet. So you have to think about this. How do we grow? We grow because we have repeated patterns that will come into our lives constantly to bring about continual smaller change, or to wake us up, or to reflect to us or mirror to us what is still broken. And then there are big events that bring about bigger shifts. Think about that in context of the larger picture. So let me share. So all of the repeating patterns that we have will lead you to big events. If I look at myself personally, this is what I brought in time and time and time again. Emotionally unavailable people or men for years, totally emotionally unavailable. And I'd have experience of emotional unavailability and experience and experience and experience and experience until I got bad enough that the big betrayal came. Okay, and that's the experience that I had when I was sitting across the table from Kate, and my guides told me to shut up because I chose this and I knew what I was getting into. Okay, the big explosion came, and it showed me my old pattern that I had, that false belief that I had, wasn't working anymore. And I had to really learn, sorry, having a hot flash. I had to really learn, I can't be rejected. I can't be rejected because love isn't an action, it's a state of being. And I had to learn that through a very, very painful, very awful experience, but I learned it. And I remember after learning it going, oh my God, I totally understand growth. I totally get it. Bring it on if that's what you need. Because I grew so much that I was like, I would never go back and turn this away again. I'll take it. Okay. And yeah, and Katie says, that's it. Exactly. Exactly. And so I want you to think about this. Feel into your life. What are your little repeating patterns that are bringing you into a big event? Or what repeating patterns have you seen in your life time and time and time and time again, until all of a sudden there was this, and you're like, whoa, I really learned from that. I really grew. Write them down. What are, or unmute yourself. What are your big life challenges? What are, like I said, I had emotionally unavailable, emotionally unavailable, emotionally unavailable until bam, you have a need, Kelly. You have a need and you think you can be rejected. So if you don't want to share it, think about it, feel into it. And there's no accident that I chose a repeating pattern of chairs at a stadium, because we're leading up to this big event. You know, that's what we're doing. So we got some comments here. Kathy says, being responsible, people-pleasing good girl. Oh, yeah. Stephanie says, it seems that our resistance to change or to our experiences are what cause our suffering. Yes. Our lack of awareness or losing sight of the fact that that everything is happening for our greater good. It is the grasping for things outside of ourselves that cause this suffering. We are enough. Exactly. Michelle says, I have blind trust for not trusting myself and avoiding responsibility for myself. Thank you, Michelle. Bella says, feeling the need to take care of everyone and not saying no. Perfect. Marcia said, living in a school for emotionally disturbed children and found them in school and college. It was evidence that I am not lovable or acknowledged. Exactly. Diane, giving away myself to, and I think she's going to probably continue. Charles says, fear for the future. My plans to prepare for it seem to fail. Okay, failure again and again and again. Stephanie, fears of being unlovable. Exactly. These are the things that you'll see as your little events that make you miserable until now Diane says, giving away myself or to others. She said, you clarified it. Yes. So let's start to think about this on a grander scale. We're all doing it. We all have our repeated patterns. So now let's look at what's showing up in our world today as the pattern, as the misery. Because once you get in enough misery within yourself, you're like, I gotta change because I can't. I remember the day that I decided that I was gonna change. I literally said this. I can't go on like this anymore. I either have to change something deep inside of me or I'm gonna be like this the rest of my life. And I'm not doing that. I'm not. So you go through this build up of misery and repeating patterns, and then you change. So let's look at this and don't get depressed, okay? Because I want to talk to you about what's actually happening. Here's our world today. We treat our earth badly. We do. We treat it terribly. We put profit, not us, but people, tend to put profit. Big business, big pharma, put profit before people, the animals, and the planet. There's ignorance to our true intuitive nature, how to heal naturally and to eat healthy foods that come from the earth. We totally have ignorance about that. We're idolizing money, stardom, physical beauty. There's this whole mentality of the bigger and grander, the better. I need the best clothes and the best car and the best house and the bigger and grander, the better. There's that mentality still there. We have corruption. We have divisiveness, particularly in politics, but also in our world. We've got it when you can see the divisiveness in what's happening with I Can't Breathe. We have manipulation. We have control. We are lacking unity of humanity. When we're more concerned about keeping people out of our borders than embracing them, Houston, we have a problem. Okay? Dave says, hold on. We have systemic racism. Exactly. Zoya says, so true. And Stephanie says, do you feel that COVID has broken some of this down? I'm going to pose that question to you after we get through a few of these. So thank you for the lead in. I do. And I think it was very purposeful. Basically, guys, you have to look at it like this. We've been in a war, okay? We're in the war of debt. We're in the war of work. We're in the war of materialism. We're in the war of fear and the war of stress. This is what in Nuremberg, they were actually in a protest for. We're not doing this war anymore is what they said. So now, let's talk at that. We know we're already, before COVID, we're in a war. We've got all these little repeating patterns, okay? Repeating patterns. War in politics, separatism, racism, sexism, exclusion, things like intolerance, overworking, over debt, over materialism, over fear, over stress, pattern. Okay, now people are getting into that place where I was when I had to make my biggest change. And it's like, okay, here's what, oops, sorry, wrong way. Let's take all that and let's compound the issue now. Now we have to make something break, okay? So take all these issues and let's put a pandemic on top of it. Let's just put the pandemic on top of that, okay? What's gonna happen? Oy, panic, fear, more fear, people at home losing jobs. Then let's compound it even more. Let's put all of that, all the stress, all the debt, all the treating our bodies and our world badly, and let's put a pandemic on it. Now we're going to take all this. Now let's try to put that on a repressed group. Okay? Whether it's homosexuality, whether it is being feminine, whether it is a gender or a particular culture, okay, a particular race. Let's put it on the stressed out people. Let's put it on those who are discriminated against. Let's put it on those who are neglectfully entitled. They're going to blow too. Let's put it on depressed people or a group. Okay, I want you to feel into this. What's going to happen? That's what's going to happen. Something has to blow. It's going to blow, and it's blowing. Okay, just like my world was falling apart, and I was like, ah! And the event came. What if this is perfect? What if this leads to an open door? So somebody said to me privately, I need to pay more attention to my team. Exactly. Okay. What if all of this is perfect? What if it was planned? What if, just like for us, if we didn't have the suffering, all would be just pointless? So now I'm going to talk about some things that people have said to me. But Kelly, how can you even say this? People are dying. I'm like, I know. And Kelly, our cities are being destroyed. And I want to share with you, one of my clients recently was a firefighter, okay? People, Kelly, are losing their jobs, losing them. I know. Don't you care? Seriously, don't you care? And I say, yes, I care. And I say, yes, people are dying. And I want to share this with you. People have always been dying. When I asked my guides about this, they said, we don't change the plan because you have a pandemic. We don't change the plan for your death. You don't change your contract because there are riots. I mentioned that I had a police officer. I thought I put a picture in here of him. Not him, but a picture of a police officer. He was in absolute tears. He was absolutely distraught. Okay? And I put it right here. I know that. There we go. He was distraught. He's seeing his city destroyed. He's afraid he's going to die. And what I had to say to him is, no, your time isn't now. If your time is now, you're going to go. You want to imagine it like this. Oh, there's a pandemic? Well, you know what? Susie and John are supposed to go out today. Yeah, they're coming back home. Well, we're going to have a bus hit them. Should we just use the pandemic? Oh, yeah, we can do that. They have a lung issue. Great. Okay, great. That'll be perfect. Plan doesn't change, guys. The universe doesn't suddenly, or God doesn't suddenly go, wow, we'll just let them all die. Let them die. No. You don't think that the people coming here, you don't think that there was an understanding that there was going to be a big morass of shit going on right now? How do you think all the prophets predicted? How did they predict 9/11? How did they predict, that this time would be coming? This isn't the end of days. This is the time for transition. Many souls wanted to come here for this. Many of you wanted to come here for this. And they'll be like, I just want to experience some. I'll be taken out in the pandemic. Just let me go. I don't mean to be making light of it, but I also think of this. I should have died, guys. I have every statistic in my body that says I should have died. I had COVID twice with asthma and COPD. Well, I didn't have it anymore, at least I didn't think, but I have a history of it. So my lungs were not as great as they could be. Okay, so let me look at some of these comments that we have coming in here. So Katie says, reminds me of premise for the book, My Grandmother's Hands, more compassion than ever for this transfiguration. And there's a private message that said, are you saying it was time for George Floyd to die the way he did? Actually, I'm going to be very controversial and I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to say, because I can feel how much that man came to deliver us through something very important. And I'm going to say that the bad politicians are also doing their job, that the people who are in big pharma are also doing their job, that so many people came here to help us to transition and to grow. I'm going to give a story of that, okay? So that you can understand, because this is very controversial. One of the people that I worked with was a mother who was an EMT. When she went to the tanning bed one day, her 13-year-old died of a heart issue, okay? She's an EMT. She was like, if I were there, I would have saved her. I would have saved her. It is my fault. I had to be so stupid and go to the tanning bed and my daughter died. And her daughter is over there saying to me, because I speak to those who are past, and she said, no, don't you understand? I knew I was only going to live that long. I knew exactly that I was supposed to do this. We made this contract together. I was going to be there with you, helping you to transition. I wasn't that day. Don't forget about our contract, that you would learn and grow past this experience. Wow. Lots and lots of comments here. So Marcia says, some souls are not willing to continue during the transition. That is their choice, and my judging them doesn't help me or them or humanity. Exactly. Kathy says, agree. Others, Diane said others left. Well, yes, there are so many others who have left, okay? Marcia says, I agree as well. Thank you, Kelly, for your insight and strength. Katie says, yes, everyone is being our teacher. And Katie and Marissa say, I just saw an article about George Floyd 6 years ago, or George Floyd's 6-year-old daughter said that her daddy changed the world. She gets it. Yes. And Diane said, some warned us. Agreed. Agreed. That man's death was not in vain. It was not, nor all the other deaths that have happened. There were so many before him. But again, build up, build up, build up. Okay? An explosion. When it comes to our cities will rebuild better, stronger, more stable of a foundation because they are torn apart now. Is the looting pleasant? No. But what we can see, we can change. We can't change anything that is hidden. We needed to see the racism coming out. We needed to see sexism. We needed to see the intolerance. We needed to see the corruption. We needed to see the ego in play. And what we can see, we can heal. And that is critical for us to feel into. What we can see, we can heal. The same things with us, our microcosm. When I can see something that is broken inside of me, I have a desire to change it. But if it's hidden from me and I'm avoiding it and not looking, because I don't want to go into my past, I don't want to think about that, well, then guess what? It's always going to stay buried and it will not heal. So that firefighter, we went through and we talked about the purpose of this. And he had trauma from all those past times of suffering. And he got done after we did a big release on each of these horrific experiences he lived through. Crying, big burly man, bawling, just bawling. And he's like, I didn't even know I was holding all that. It was his big explosion. Okay? The riot helped him to transition, to change. That is good. When it comes to rebuilding and looking at our jobs, for us to change how we do business financially through our working slavery, okay? Enough people had to lose their jobs so that restructure can happen together. Together we rebuild. There's a card in tarot and it's called the tarot. I'm sorry, in tarot, it's called the tower. The tower card says, when you build your tower on a weak foundation, eventually it's going to crumble. Well, it's crumbling. We built our tower on a weak foundation and it is not sustainable. Okay, let me get back here. I want to answer those questions or share the comments. Kathy says, at a soul level, both the cops and George volunteered to be the spark of this needed change. The cop and George Floyd worked security at a nightclub in Minneapolis, in Minnesota. They knew each other. According to reports, one worked inside, the other outside. Was this a personal beef between the two? Could be. It could be. Okay, but it doesn't even matter. What matters is that man's life was not in vain. That's what matters. Okay. So I have mentioned this before too in my classes, that we are in the process of moving from a grade 3 planet where we indulge the ego. All those things I said are going wrong with the world. Okay, all of that war of greed and debt and profit and materialism, that's grade 3. Grade 4, I want you to think about this. This is what we're moving to. Grade 4 planet is driven by unconditional love, not fear. It has tolerance. One of my beautiful clients, she's here today. She uses the word, it's the narrative that people carry about different races and cultures and genders and groups. And it's just, the narrative is enough to drive you nuts. The narrative doesn't have to be there. Competition will turn into cooperation. I chose, in the book that I just put on Facebook, my first chapter that I put out, I made a very conscious choice not to publish. And I've published 3 books before. And I'm like, I am not doing the publicity game. I'm not doing the now you have to have enough social media numbers. And if you're not even going to get an agent unless you're popular enough. I'm not playing that game. I'm not going to get into this competition with people for popularity. I won't do it. How am I supposed to be a good role model if I play the game? I'm not doing it. So I put my book out on Facebook. Everybody can have it. There's no need to be important in grade 4. You don't have to. You can be playful and innocent. You can reclaim yourself. Okay? Reclaim. Right? And we've got a private message that said, thank you, Kelly. I needed this to feel my own growth. And Diane said, big change doesn't happen gracefully. No, you're so wise, woman. And Katie says, yes, narrative, storyline is no longer relative. Exactly. So let me get back here. So when it comes to grade 4, it's about treating our world well, treating our animals well, our earth, okay? It's about free energy. It's about holistic, natural healing. It's about healthy foods that come from the earth, okay? This tincture, that's all earth. That's all earth, okay? And it's about, do not put profit before people, the animals, and the planet. That can't be acceptable to us any longer. And so we are in the process right now of taking baby steps toward a different future. That's what we're doing. Taking a step. My guides have explained there are 3 different occasions where things are going to get messy. This is the first one. There's another one after that, and then another one. And they're going to gradually move us toward 4th grade. Okay? But this had to happen first. There's a wonderful, this is a bumper sticker I saw back, oh God, I don't even know when, a long, long time ago. And it said, well-behaved women rarely make history. And it was by Laurel Thatcher Ulrich. And it was so funny because I was like, That's really true. It really doesn't. We're like, everything is good. Don't do good acts? No. Does it mean don't do good things? No. Of course we're going to do those. But sometimes you have to shake things up. And what I would create this bumper sticker as is maybe this: complacent people rarely make change. Or maybe I'd change it to this: change is born out of diversity. Or maybe I'd make it this: is it time to coexist yet? Is it time? So Zoya says, this reminds me of life that happens after a volcano explodes. Oh, I'm sure. Exactly. We have exploded. Okay. So I want us to put down comments. Put them down. What good is coming out of the pandemic? Put it down right now. Type away or unmute if you want. Okay. But what good is coming out of this pandemic? We know there's good. Share it. So Stephanie says, what should one's approach to people's ignorance be? To people's ignorance, hatred, and fear? Ooh, that's a good one. Hold on to that. Let me answer these, and then we'll talk about that, because that's huge. Michelle says, unity is coming out. Exactly. Our world has become smaller. We're supporting each other. Time for quiet contemplation for me. Perfect, Ron. And everyone is getting that. So many people are talking about that. I can be quiet. And Diane said awareness. Yes, Stephanie, growth and compassion for humankind. Exactly, compassion. Zoya, connection and love for humanity. Charles, there's been new political understandings that others agree with what they believe. Politics is really on the spotlight right now. Dave said, light is shining on the darkness that has been going on for far too long. Amen, brother. And he said, all the dark corners are being exposed to finally be transformed. What we can see, we can heal. Exactly, Dave. Shalini says, few weeks of retrospection. Okay. And Judy says, this pause gives us time to reset and take a new road. Okay. Exactly, you guys. Okay. Reset. Okay. Just time to look inside, introspection. Bella says, people realizing you can't trust mainstream media and there's free thinking. Exactly. Katie says, going deep inside to heal early trauma. Yes. Dave says, hopefully sooner than later, enough suffering. Agreed. Okay. Michelle says, new structures for life, restorative justice. Exactly. A private message said, I'll repeat that: compassion. And Sushila said it next: compassion and understanding. That is what is coming out. That is what this suffering is causing. The same things in us, the suffering causes change. If you haven't watched my Mayan Caves on my YouTube channel, watch all 3 parts. It's in the last one that I actually reveal the true nature of the transition. So let's get back up to Stephanie's comment. She said, what should one's approach to people's ignorance, hatred, and fear be? We comfort the sleeping souls. They know not what they do. Baby and infant souls cannot be anything other than a baby or an infant. And what we do is we stand in our power to say, I don't agree with you, and I will not allow that. And if they are going to do it, we stop some of the things that are happening. We stop and say, I do not agree. We don't become complacent. We don't buy into false news. We don't buy into things that politicians are saying that aren't true. We buy into truth inside. We stand in our truth with a strength. My putting out that book, Breathe, I'm putting out a truth. People are like, wow, you really put yourself out there. Yeah, I don't care. I'm not playing anymore. I'm done hiding anything. You don't like what I put in there? Don't read it. Okay. So much more coming up here. People are saying time for a spiritual coming out. Yes, Ron. Okay. Katie says, yes, compassion for everyone, everything sacred, even when they are teachers we don't buy into, right? Exactly. Okay. So, and Dave says, unity consciousness. We are one. Yes, we are. So now let's look at that same stuff that was coming out of the pandemic. That is what is coming out of these protests. Without these things and without us seeing the people destroying property because they are broken. If they weren't broken from all the stress and the war and the hurt, we compounded a pandemic with their stress, with poverty, with depression, with repression. Of course they blew. Of course they're looting. And then you've got the white kids from, from, I don't know, Malibu or wherever they were from, who are over there stealing and looting and destroying. And someone's like, why are you doing this? Because I can. Yes, they are shamelessly enabled, shamelessly. And because of that, they're in pain too. And yes, they blew too. We need to see that behavior as much as we need to see the people looting, as much as we need to see the people destroying, because it is evidence of a pattern that has been happening in our societies. So we don't shame them. We say, wow, what do you need? What do you need? Why were you so broken that that happened? Where is our compassion? Katie says, some of the looters were also bought by the system. Most likely. I don't know. I have no proof. But here's what happens. We needed to see that. We needed to see that people can be bought. We needed to see that people will destroy because they're under a pressure cooker. Kathleen says, thanks, Kelly. I have to leave a bit early, another meeting on Zoom in a couple of minutes. I look forward to touching base with you soon. You too, honey. And Sherman says privately, sorry. Oh, he said he needs to say goodbye now too. Must be getting close, yes. Dave says, alongside all of that, white nationalists are infiltrating to cause more harm and damage and to misguide the narrative. Exactly, but we need to see it. We have to see the ugliness because we are going to tolerate it if it's just an undercurrent. If it's just an undercurrent under the surface, it's just going to create misery because that's what patterns do. They create misery. How many times did you have to experience the misery of your pattern until it blew? And when you blew, you can see it all. So I want to ask you this question. Is suffering necessary? Is it good and a catalyst for change? Dave said, yeah, we have an opportunity. We have to see the ugliness. Yes, we do. Suffering is necessary and it is a catalyst for change. Okay? Yes, he says to be able to transform. Someone says to me privately, it took forced isolation in your words to recognize that my infant behavior was learned. I've been surrounded by it my entire life. Personal growth happening during world growth. Sometimes I feel like it's too late for me working on breaking my patterns, feeling like it's taking forever, but it's not. You seeing it means you will heal it. You will heal it. And I want to say something that I think is a really beautiful thing to understand. And this is something I read in a book called The Disappearance of the Universe. And I asked my guides about it and they confirmed. And it's that souls cannot not grow. Okay? Even if they are an absolute jerky, pantsy buffoon in one life, manipulative, controlling, nasty in one life, they're just starting the karma there. They'll finish it down the road. But souls cannot not grow over lifetimes. They cannot not finish third grade. Humanity is changing, and humanity will change because of this. Diane says, yeah, speak out, make your voices heard. Exactly. And it doesn't have to, and it shouldn't be with anger. We make our voices heard with internal power. I will not be okay with that any longer. You will not say a racist comment in front of me. I am not going to stand by and let that happen. And it's not with anger. It's with internal strength. Okay, guys, lots that we needed to talk about. So let me stop my share. And I want to play a song for you. I decided that we could stop today with a song. And it's a really important song for us to really feel the words to. Hopefully you can hear it okay. I think the best thing would be for me to put my earphone up to this as I play it. So allow me to turn this on.
Connected to Kelly's iPhone.
We're connected now. All right. How's that sound?
When I look into your eyes, it's like watching the night sky or a beautiful sunrise. Oh, there's so much they hold. And just like them old stars, I see that you've come so far to be right where you are. How old is your soul? Well, I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. And when you're needing your space, to do some navigating, I'll be here patiently waiting to see what you find. See then the stars, they burn. Some even fall to the earth. We got a lot to learn. God knows we're worth it. No, I won't give up. I don't want to be someone who walks away so easily. I'm here to stay and make the difference that I can make. Our differences, they do a lot to teach us how to use the tools and gifts we got here. We got a lot at stake. And in the end, you're still my friend. At least we didn't intend for us to work. We didn't break, we didn't burn. We had to learn how to bend without the world caving in. I had to learn what I got and what I'm not and who I am. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up, still looking up. Well, I won't give up. God knows I'm tough. He knows we got a lot to learn. God knows we're worth it. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up.
Heck yes. So, thank you for enjoying that song with me. It is a beautiful song. And I Won't Give Up by Jason Mraz. So if you wanted to put it into your playlist, because it's something we really need to hold right now. Don't give up on us. Don't give up on us. Okay. Stephanie says, stay curious and hopeful, and it's going to be okay. Yes, it is. And someone said privately, thank you, Kelly. If you need someone to go to the end of the earth with, I would be proud to stand beside you. Yes. And Soya says, bless you, my friend and my teacher. You're an angel sent to us. Thank you. And thank you, Sushila. She says, you're changing the world and making it a better place. You inspire me. You're bringing me to tears today. Love you all. Love you all. Love you all. This is good. Dave is Cynthia. Dave, you're Cynthia. Oh, I didn't realize that was you, honey.